So Ocean's 12.
How about I say, wow, does anyone have ghouls to gab?
I want to jump right into this.
I want to
ghoul.
gab a ghoul.
I want to jump right into this ghoul that we're gabbing. We watched Ocean's 12 because my mom was in town.
Oh, wait. Yabba gabba ghoul. Anyway, continue.
Terrible. No, that was not a good interruption, actually. You're not allowed to interrupt
that was
anymore.
Not worth
You've
it.
lost interruption privileges. No puns for you for the rest of the episode.
Okay,
keep
cool.
rolling, guys.
Okay, great. Anyway, so we watched Ocean's 12 because my mom was in town and we wanted a movie on.
Right.
While Noah was cooking something. And I realized something because we'd watched Ocean's 8 recently, and I remember the plot of Ocean's 11. Okay, we watched all of them like one
slap bang boom together.
Yeah,
right.
One of my favorite franchises, if we're being honest.
It's a lot of fun. I haven't seen a heist movie since, other than Baby Driver, that wasn't just trying to be Ocean's 11. I feel like. Because we watched The Italian Job, and the whole time I was just like, this just wants to be Ocean's 11 so bad.
Which is funny, because I think it came out before Ocean's 11.
Oh my god, really?
Did it?
Let me
I actually have no idea when
this.
Ocean's 11 came out, now that I'm thinking about
it.
I
loved The Italian Job when I was younger.
I bet.
It
wasn't like, I didn't think it was... Wait. Sorry.
May the Lord bless you and keep you.
Oh, it came out after. Never mind.
Okay,
the issue with it is, on its own, it's not bad. But while Ocean's 11 has a real timelessness to it, because they keep like specific era stuff out of it.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
The Italian Job is so painfully 2003.
It gets really dated really quick.
Right.
But Ocean's 12. So I was thinking about the plot twists in Ocean's 11 and Ocean's 8, which I really like the plot twist in Ocean's 8. And Ocean's 12's plot twist, spoilers for Ocean's 12, is that they've just known this really famous thief this whole time.
Like the world's most famous thief.
They've
happens
just known
to be personal buddies.
This whole time.
If he's so famous, how can he possibly be a good thief? It kind of seems like the greatest thief would be one you never hear of, right?
This is they actually do say that almost verbatim in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay.
Yeah, because his daughter, who doesn't know that she's his daughter, or she doesn't know that she's his daughter. Yeah.
Okay.
She's like fascinated by him, so obviously she has all of these reasons why he's a great thief, even if he's like super famous. He uses an alias and stuff, and he has a calling card, so that's how you can be famous without like being caught.
Of course.
But like, yeah, so in Ocean's 11, the plot twist is like, we were really smart and we had a lot of forethought and we did a whole thing that we are now revealing to you. And in Ocean's 8, the plot twist is, you thought this was a lot of effort to go through for one thing. Well, just kidding. That wasn't what we were doing. And then in Ocean's 12, and also we decided to frame someone's boyfriend while we were at it because we're vindictive bitches, right. And I love them for it. And then in Ocean's 12, it's just, we've known the guy the whole time. And so we used our connection to the guy to basically cheese this entire plot. And it's so unsatisfying compared to the other two that that's why it's the worst Ocean's movie.
Yeah.
Did you watch Ocean's 8?
Not while
my mom's seen it though.
She was here.
Yeah. But it is my, I think, favorite one.
Is
it because Rihanna and Helena Bonham Carter are in it?
Maybe.
Probably yes.
Wow, Nina.
And Anne Hathaway. Wow. Yeah, no, it's good.
Not even talking about Cate Blanchett at all. Come on.
Cate Blanchett's like the one that like is in it, but then like when Anne Hathaway becomes like a main ordeal in the movie, I'm like, oh my god. And she's playing such a fun character. It's just a really fun movie.
It is.
It's a good time.
Anybody else got ghouls?
I watched Let the Right One In, the 2008, like, what is it, Swedish?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I believe it's Swedish, yeah.
Yeah. It was really good. I watched it for podcast purposes, research, one could say. So I don't want to get into it too much, but I enjoyed my time.
Cool.
Oh, I've seen this.
Have you?
Let the right one in?
Oh, I saw this ages ago. I liked this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been hearing good things about it for years. I just haven't got around to it just
Me
yet.
too.
Did anybody else have any ghouls to gab?
Well, I watched the first 2 X-Men movies, but Nina said no one wants to hear about the X-Men movies.
No one wants to hear me talk about the X-Men
Nina
movies,
won't,
is what
but
I said. I
will.
won't. Noah can go.
The first X-Men movie opens up with the Holocaust and then immediately transitions to a Senate hearing because the guy's like, in case you don't get the point that I am trying to make with this movie about, like, bigotry and oppression.
I'm going to talk about it a little, but I'll let you go.
It opens into a Senate hearing that could be a Senate hearing from about 10 minutes ago with Republicans talking about gay and trans people instead of people talking about the mutants.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was poignant.
Almost even sticks the landing. Wow. Up to the point where it has to contrive a reason for the bad guy to be the bad guy.
This is the problem with Magneto. I love Magneto, and I love the first X-Men movie because the Magneto's plot is to turn these rich and powerful people into mutants so that they have to deal with the repercussions of their own actions. And his plan B, which he does pull off, is also pretty good, which is just
kill all the rich and powerful people.
To have Mystique pretend to be the senator.
And that's why we've got our gay beam that we are going to be aiming at everyone in the Republican Party right now.
Let me tell you,
it doesn't work.
As somebody who lived in D.C., a lot of the senators are already secretly gay.
I have heard that.
Not surprise me.
Yes.
It doesn't, that's the thing, right?
Sex workers talk. So
I believe it.
What are you talking about? No.
See, that is the thing about the mutant. So I could go on forever about how well crafted and nuanced the allegory of mutants for different marginalized groups is, because they have that taken into account, like, you know, being a mutant who can pass really well as a human versus being a mutant who has visible changes to their appearance because of their mutation. Being a mutant who looks normal but can't touch people versus being a mutant who thinks that mutants are beautiful because she can control storms. Like, there's just so much, like, intersectionality in mutants, and I think it's really interesting that the main antagonist of a lot of X-Men stories is a man whose intersectionality includes a real-world identity of being Jewish and a Holocaust victim, as well as now being a member of a fictional marginalized group that they want to eradicate as well. So it's really hard to write that, and you can tell that the writer of the first X-Men movie thinks Magneto is right, but it's an X-Men movie, so he has to be unreasonable in the last 10 minutes and lose. But the first, like, chunk of this movie is very, very good. And then the ending is still fine for an X-Men movie, but they have Storm tell Magneto, hey, your machine actually kills people. It doesn't just turn people into mutants. The human body can't withstand that, and they're dying. And Magneto reacts in shock, and he's like, oh my God, seriously? And then they cut and never address it, and he just keeps going with his plan anyway. But yeah, I love the first X-Men movie very much, despite its flaws.
It was really pretty fun.
Well, but what I want to hear about is the third one, honestly.
We haven't got there yet.
Yeah, we were going to delay that one.
All right, well, next episode.
Yeah, I fell asleep almost while watching X2, and we were going to put on 3 or Wolverine after that, but then I was too sleepy.
Origins Wolverine, not the Wolverine.
Yeah,
right,
bad
course,
Wolverine.
Right, yeah.
Oh, the Wolverine's not very good.
No, the
either.
Wolverine is way worse than Origins, if we're being
really
honest.
I actually really dislike the Wolverine.
Now, what's the plot of the second one? The X2?
The plot of the second one
That's when Nightcrawler is in it, and
he's so
like
good. I love him.
Assassinating, like, politicians and is under mind control, and it connects to Logan's backstory and, like, Dr. Stryker, I think his name is, and they attack the mansion.
Nina's about to have an X-Men moment.
They all like escape, but Logan has to confront his dark past.
Yeah, that's the emotional core of the movie, but the plot, like the villain's plot, is to get Professor X to use a knockoff Cerebro to identify all the mutants in the world and use his brain to kill them all. Like, that's gonna work, even though in the movie we identify that, like, that would leave humans alive who can still pass on the mutant gene. So, like, that would not solve anything. Yeah. And then Magneto comes in and finds Charles in a trance, like, about to kill all the mutants, and he's like, I have a great idea, and he reconfigures Cerebro so that it will kill all the humans instead.
What if we just point this the other way?
Literally. And they barely stop him. But yeah, there's also a bunch of stuff going on in the background about Logan figuring out why he doesn't have any memories, and that he volunteered to have adamantium stuck to his skeleton. And they have the worst character design ever. They have the first take on a female Wolverine. She's got
like the fingernail deal, right?
She's sexist. She's Orientalist. She's
it's real bad. Yeah.
She's just kind of annoying, and she's kind of useless to the plot. She does not speak. She's one of those characters that is East Asian and doesn't speak because she's a woman, and we know. And then so the deal with Wolverine's claws is adamantium is, once it hardens, unbreakable, unbendable. Right? So Wolverine's claws are in his arm, and then he uses muscles to eject them out of between his knuckles.
Right.
Her nails, for some reason, do the Lady Dimitrescu thing where they, like, grow out to be, like, 7 times the length of a normal human fingernail. That's not possible. I hate that on a nerd level.
Don't you think maybe they're just, like, rolled up in there? It's like a
but don't say that
like
to
a
me,
slap
bracelet,
bracelet,
how they work.
You know?
That's not how they work.
You can't
Jeff.
bend. You can't bend it.
Or like
you can't bend adamantium. It's a core
like a measuring
plot point.
tape or something. I don't know.
No, can't do it. Can't do it. Doesn't work. Nope. So that's the worst part of X2. Everything else is pretty fine. It's literally just the, like, 5 to 10 minute fight between the two Wolverines, and one of them sucks. And it's like, this is such a time waster, and you just wanted to have muscled Hugh Jackman fight a sexy lady. And I get the kind of vibes, but the X-Men fight between him and Mystique in the first movie, you're never going to catch that lightning in a bottle again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, probably not, really. It's not even a good fight.
No, it's really drawn out and kind of boring, and the choreography's not great.
I guess that's why I don't remember it.
Probably.
I haven't seen that movie in forever, and I'm really not looking to now.
Yeah, it's not as good as the first one, but it's still good. Also, one thing I will say before we move on from X-Men, because we'll talk about it again after we watch the next couple on the roster. If Scott, Cyclops, and Wolverine, if Cyclops and Wolverine's relationship in the comics was as lighthearted, bantery, and slightly flirty as it is in these movies, in the 2000 X-Men movies, maybe I would buy the fucking Cyclops, Phoenix, Wolverine throuple that they tried to push in the comics recently. But the comics versions of them simply do not gel like that, so.
They hate each other even more in the comics?
Yeah, they literally, the 90s animated version of the X-Men that I'm watching while I draw right now is to me, that's what it always feels like, is Cyclops being like, it is me, the leader, I'm the leader of the team, listen to me, and Wolverine being like, fuck you, buddy, and running off. Instead of kind of the, like, sexual tension that we have in the 2000s movies where Logan's constantly, like, borrowing his motorcycle and shit.
Yeah,
he borrows his motorcycle. God damn it!
And
I would never borrow a motorcycle from a person.
He throws in the keys. He's like, "Your bike's out of gas," and then Cyclops throws the keys back, and he's like, "Then fill it up." And it's like, "Shut up, just kiss."
I feel like it's kind of like the Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious problem, where they tried to make them macho straight men at each other, and it flipped right around the other way.
It very much is that.
It's almost like that wonderful. Never works.
When will I hope we never learn. I hope we just get this.
Yeah, it's better this way, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, another movie I watched recently. I had seen it before, but I was showing me, Piper, Trout, and Adam of Trixie Wizard fame watched the Lego Batman movie.
Oh, that's a fun one.
And the three of them hadn't seen it, and it's a really fun time.
It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It holds up.
I haven't seen it either.
It's cute.
I've heard it's a good
cute.
Batman.
Yeah. It's a lot of kind of like gay connotations with Joker and Batman that are really fun.
As there should
They're
be.
very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, there needs to be a light to heavy homoerotic undertone between those two.
Yeah, for sure.
There needs to be, or it doesn't work as well.
And frankly, it also needs to have the same logic as Dark Knight's Joker, where he's like, I'm a dog chasing cars line. Like, they should never get together. But they should both desperately want each other.
Yeah,
absolutely, I agree. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Casual Obsession, the horror movie podcast where we talk about horror movies and obviously nothing else. Don't pay attention to the pre-roll and all the non-horror movies we talked about. I'm Emma. Joining me today is Noah.
Hello, I'm Noah. Joining me today is Nina.
Hello, I'm Nina. Joining me today is Jeff.
I'm Jeff, and I'm your friend to the end. Heidi-ho.
Heidi-ho.
That's right. For those of you familiar with that classic line, today we are talking about the movie Child's Play from 1988. This is the first movie to feature Chucky, the killer doll, and the gay icon. So we really just wanted to kind of continue our Pride festivities as we're moving into
I need to
Gay
clarify.
Wrath Month. What's
Chucky's not gay. He's just a super ally.
Yeah.
Well, and Don
he's the
Mancini is
queer-
gay, so...
Yeah, Don Mancini's gay.
He's the queer community's dad.
Yeah.
Gender
Our
fluid.
dad. Gender
Yeah.
fluid.
I watched a few episodes of the new Chucky show a few months ago.
Yeah?
It was
I've heard it's very good.
It was a fun
Actually,
time.
I think
I
Sean
was really
in
enjoying
Discord really also likes it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just want to watch all the Child's Play movies and, just all the Chucky movies leading up to it before I start watching it, but I do want to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me with the Evil Dead series right now. So working my way there.
Yeah. Working my way downtown. As you might know, Child's Play is a movie where this criminal is being chased by a cop and they're going pew pew in the streets. And then the bad guy gets shot in the leg and his friend drives off as the cops are coming. And so the bad guy ducks into a toy store and the cop chases him in there. And then the bad guy luckily knows dark evil magics and transported his soul into one of the new children's dolls of the good guy dolls. So he becomes...
Oh, Charles, it's not a bad guy doll.
So he becomes one of these dolls, and then, oh gosh, we're now following this kid and his mom, and guess what he gets for his birthday? A good guy doll. And then the movie kind of goes from there. And I don't want to jump into the spoilers quite yet, but that's a little taste for you.
And the big twist of the movie...
salt in the big pot of Chucky.
Yeah, and the big twist of the movie is that guy in the beginning who puts himself into the doll, that's Brad Dourif the whole time.
What?
And explain who that is and what other projects that he has been in.
Well, you might know Brad Dourif as Grima Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings, or as whoever whoever it was that he played in David Lynch's Dune.
Oh my God, he's in Tim Dune?
He was not Tim Dune. He was some other guy named Piter, but he's in Dune. It's the 1984 David Lynch Dune that everyone seems to agree is the worst attempt at making a Dune movie thus far. He's also in Blue Velvet for the Lynch heads, but Blue Velvet is the one David Lynch movie that I've attempted to watch that I was able to finish. I've tried to watch Eraserhead 3 separate times, and I just can't get past the halfway point.
I really hate what he looks like in Dune, that's for sure.
Oh, wow. Those are some eyebrows, huh?
Yeah.
Oh god dang.
It's called costume design, Sweaty. Look at
Thanks for that, David Lynch.
Yeah, you should definitely look up what he looks like in Dune, because it is a sight.
It's a look.
Right when I saw him in this movie, though, I was like, oh, that's Wormtongue.
Yeah. He just has that look.
Yeah.
And then
I do forget that he's like been in anything else. My only thing I know him in is he plays a main character in Rob Zombie's Halloween remake.
Oh, yeah, he's Sheriff Brackett, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm especially excited for him right now because I just finished watching Deadwood, and he is a sort of a side character in that, and he's like my favorite character in the show, just about.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then I took about halfway through the movie before I posted it in the Discord channel, but I realized that the cop that shoots the guy in the leg is played by Humperdinck.
Humperdinck?
From The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I literally was sitting there. Usually I look these things up, but I was like, no, I know this one.
The accent really throws you off from recognizing him, right?
Well, I think it's the accent and just the acting style is so different in Princess Bride from anything else because it's this weird mix of like stage acting and film acting. So I think that's what really threw me off.
I have, because the mom looked really familiar, and I think now I know where I knew the mom from, and I am double checking right now.
What is she?
So you all grew up very religious.
Yeah.
So maybe you are also aware. Yep, I was right. Do you know the show Seventh Heaven?
No.
Oh gosh, it was this terrible like Christian show about like this Christian family with like a pastor dad. And just them living in the real world and the struggles they faced. And so she was the mom in that show.
Was it?
And she's the mom in this movie.
Was it more specifically a Mormon show? Because the title Seventh Heaven is a specific Mormon reference, isn't it?
It could be. Because
a fun fact about Mormons, they don't believe in the idea of hell. They believe in there just being multiple layers of heaven. And the best heaven is for faithful Mormons, and the shitty heaven down at the bottom is for regular people, sinners and whatnot.
Yeah.
They don't go to hell. They just get a less cool concept. Heaven.
Yeah. It's funny, me looking at the cast list of this movie, there are like quite a few prominent people now who are in this show.
It's honestly, old slasher franchises have a lot of real big actors right before they got big.
Yeah. We had Kevin Bacon in fucking Friday.
Kevin Nobody in Friday back then.
At the time,
yeah. Oh, I was talking about Seventh Heaven's cast though.
Oh, I'm gonna look at Seventh Heaven's cast, but I'm not gonna say anything because we need to.
We'll move on.
We need to.
Yeah, we gotta stay focused like we always do.
Yeah,
we've
absolutely.
never been distracted before. I tell you, this one time I almost got distracted, but then I said, no.
Hey, Noah, why don't you get distracted and tell us some of the critical reception of this movie?
Well, I don't mind if I do. On IMDb, we got a 6.6 out of 10, Rotten Tomatoes with a 72%, Metacritic with a 58%, a divisive movie on release.
Interesting.
People got
Letterboxd with a 3.3 out of 5. However, there's an important voice, the voice of the people we need to hear from.
Yes, let's go.
And you may be thinking, Twitter Brandon? Well, I mean, Twitter Brandon, he liked this well enough, but he liked the remake more.
Did he?
He did.
This does
you
not surprise
say
me.
that the remake was like dog shit? Because
It was mid.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's better than I remember, probably, but it was kind of mid. It was fun, though. It was just a little mid.
Okay.
However, that's not the voice of the people I mean. We got the one, the only, Roger Ebes back on the podcast.
Let's go.
With a strong 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let me just read you a little excerpt I pulled here. Child's Play is a cheerfully energetic horror film of the slam bang school, but slicker and more clever than most. About an evil doll named Charles Lee Ray, or Chucky. That's not technically true, Roger. The guy, like, it's about an evil doll, but the doll's named Chucky. He doesn't refer to himself by his full name in doll form. It's kind of weird. Anyway, the doll has been possessed by the mind and soul of the Lakeshore Strangler, a Chicago mass murderer who studied voodoo from a black magician.
Thanks, Roger.
Oh no! Oh no!
After the strangler is shot by a cop and left for dead in a toy store, he gathers enough energy to utter a voodoo incantation. Ooh. After which ominous clouds roil in the sky and lightning strikes the store, causing one of the several large explosions in this movie.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't read any of the middle. I read the front and I read the bottom where he's talking about large explosions. I'm like, that's my snippet.
There are some good explosions in this movie. Tell you what.
That's honestly the first thing I thought of while watching this movie was, holy shit, they blew up a building.
Yeah.
And then about 40 something minutes into the movie, I'm like, holy shit, they blew up another building.
Yeah.
Chucky was really just the Joker of his time.
He really was and is.
Yeah.
He really
shall
is.
be in the future.
He's incredibly Joker coded.
Yeah. And Joker pilled.
He is a majorly Joker pilled character, yeah.
So true. But I'm so curious to hear what you all thought of Child's Play 1988.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Emma. You know, in my time on this podcast, many people have said, Noah, and then, you know...
Yeah.
I answer. Yeah. And they say, what do you think of this movie?
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10. And I say, well, a variety of numbers because,
of course, this is, depending on the movie, right?
Generally what happens.
Normally
but
a
for
10.
For this movie, I give it a 7.
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
I think it's a good time.
Blowing up 2 buildings just isn't enough for you?
Well, you know,
what do you want? You want
frankly,
to blow up a 3rd building or something?
Yeah.
Would that have
frankly, the ending is about 5 minutes too long.
You think? Okay.
I think there's elements of the ending that really worked for me, and there's other elements that didn't. Now, handlebar mustache porn star cop.
Oh my god! What a bell of a character.
What nothing will cement this movie as an 80s movie more than handlebar mustache porn star cop.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah.
So, for all this together, a movie that sometimes didn't go as fast as I wanted, but also has one of the best child actors I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely.
Does really
I give
well.
it a 7.
He sells it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Nina gives it a 2.
So we're coming back with
that's not true.
No, it's not. We're coming back with my slasher scale here because because I don't like slashers. I just don't. And I don't like this movie very much, honestly, but it's because it's entirely just because it's a slasher. It's another one of those things where this genre is never really going to super do it for me. Sure. So we're probably at like a 5 or a 6. On the slasher scale, it's like an 8 or a 9. Out of the slashers we've watched, this one is definitely closer to things that I enjoy. I like the smart talking fucking guy. He doesn't talk enough for me in this one. I'm sure that ramps up in the sequels.
It definitely does.
So I'm definitely, this is one where I like Nightmare. I'm kind of like, I'm looking forward to the sequels because I want more of this killer. But yep, it's still not a slasher fan.
Yeah. That's valid. Yeah. Jeff, what did you think?
I think I'm giving it like an 8.5. Because there is something about a 9 that feels like maybe it's a little bit too much, but goddamn, I love this movie. I think it's real fun. I think it's real good. I think it lets itself be hokey in all the right ways. It's just a good time.
Interesting. Now, as you all know, I don't like older movies.
Right.
And this was released in 1988, so it's not too...
It's late 80s, but it's low budget enough that it feels a little bit older than it is in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So, really, who knows what answer I'm going to say?
Not me.
And so... We go back to our favorite game show. What ranking is Emma gonna give this movie?
Right.
Where my fellow co-contestants get to guess what I'm gonna give this movie, and then I will reveal what I in fact gave this movie.
Do we get to spin the wheel? for this.
I want Emma to be on my side. And so, because I want Emma to be on my side, I'm going to say 6.
Interesting.
Oh.
Which I think might even be high. Like, full disclosure, but a 6.
I was going to split it right down the middle and say a 5. Because I think there's enough things for Emma to like, but there's enough things that are egregiously the 80s. Like a handlebar mustache porn star cop.
Of course.
I don't
That's
know.
true.
He's a pro. He's so good.
He's probably the pro part of the 80s end.
And then the cons are a lot
Turtleneck
of
detective, a con.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Why are you calling him that? Does he actually wear a turtleneck?
in the first scene of the movie, yeah.
Oh, just in the,
just in the first scene.
He does wear like
Where
multiple other sweaters after that, though.
I was paying
He
too much
does.
attention to Worm Tongue to actually see what Humperdinck was wearing.
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
None of these words are in the Bible.
Jeff, what are you submitting?
I don't know if I want, like, which side of their guesses I want to go on, because on one hand, yeah, this movie does fall into a handful of old movie pitfalls, and the visual effects all have a particular kind of look to them. And it's stuff that, like, I don't mind, but we feel very differently about that kind of stuff. So I wonder if maybe I ought to go a little bit lower. On the other hand, the movie's fun, and Chucky's a fun villain, and we got
Chucky
some
is
solid
fun.
performances in it and stuff. So is that enough to counteract it? Because, I mean, like, obviously I'm not matching either of their numbers, even if I think one of them is probably right.
Steve Harvey voice, 6.1.
Yeah, right. 6 stars and 1 cent. I think I'm putting my money on 7.
Interesting. Okay. So, now for the big reveal,
Drum roll, please.
Da-da-da-da-da.
I give this movie an 8.5.
Oh my god!
I had a great time with this
fantastic.
movie.
Oh my
I
God.
had
All
so
right.
much fun. There are
I can't believe we found a new movie for Slashtober once we run out of Halloween movies, which happens this year because there's no
this year,
more.
yeah.
We can move over to Chucky and Scream, which are both great franchises.
Yeah.
to
love those
have.
movies. Yep. But yeah, I had a great time with this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Great.
There's obviously some like corny old movie bits to it.
Absolutely.
But the classic things that really bother me about old movies is, for one, bad acting, which everybody does like pretty well here. And then for 2, terrible audio quality. And
That is something this movie does not have.
yeah,
I'm thrilled.
The movie had great audio quality. The gun noises they used were hilariously incorrect.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
It felt on brand for the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it was just it was a lot of fun.
It's just a fun
But
movie, right? Yeah.
It is. Even though it's fun, there are obviously some things you want to know going into it.
That's true.
So Noah, can you tell us about our content warnings?
I got so many good content warnings for you.
Best ones.
Now, you may be surprised to hear child endangerment
What?
is a big feature in the Murderous Doll movie.
How does that happen?
Well, I hate to tell you, Chucky tries to murder a 2-year-old child.
Oh my god.
that kid supposed to be 2?
That kid's not
He's
2,
not 2,
right?
He's like
He's like 3 or 2 or so. He's very
at
young.
Definitely
least,
seems
like,
like he's
5.
6.
They
Six.
literally
He's
they
6-year-old.
He's the same age
Really?
as the
I thought
Babadook
Yeah.
kid.
Oh, I thought they name dropped him as like 2 in the movie.
No, the fuck?
There's no way.
Wikipedia says 6.
2 is the
My bad.
A 2-year-old
6-year-old
is the
child.
kid from the fucking Pet Cemetery is like 2
Oh
years old.
god, that kid. Anyway, Chucky tries to kill a 6-year-old child.
Yeah.
He also tries to possess him. So, also, I don't think I actually wrote that down. Possession is a theme in this movie, not in a demonic sense, but if you're afraid of voodoo, or more importantly, content warning, Hollywood voodoo,
Yeah.
because it is distinctly Hollywood brand.
Yeah.
So
very,
80s.
very
Now-
much.
Derogatory.
Yeah.
You may be thinking, Noah, this creepy doll, another content warning, probably doesn't hate women, though, right? You'd be wrong. What? Charles
Oh
Lee
my God,
Ray
no.
is violently misogynistic.
Wait.
In fact,
You're
the
telling
first
me
line
the
you hear
Lakeshore
him
Strangler
say,
doesn't like women?
I'm telling you, the first line you hear him say through the doll's mouth is just a lot of sexism.
Yeah,
so,
it's true.
You know,
it's just
he is a sexist. This man has a lot of growth to do.
Yeah, we are far away from him accepting his gender fluid kid.
Yeah.
So
we have decades before
I'm
we
so
have
excited to get there, though.
However, I will say I don't think Chucky is ever homophobic, and I think we can thank Don Mancini for that.
I think
that's a really good
probably
point.
so, yeah. I would assume.
Yeah.
He might actually be, and this might come back to bite me in the ass when I watch maybe even like the next movie, but I don't remember it from what I know about the movies, so I'm gonna make that hubris-laden statement.
I'm so glad you're being upfront about it, though.
Anyway, we also have doctors not believing you because, you know, no one believes little what's-his-face when he says that his toy is Andy, thank you. Andy Barkley. No one believes Andy when he says Chucky, his toy doll, is trying to kill him.
Yeah.
Or other people, for
and
that
it's
matter.
really heartbreaking to watch this kid try and get this doll to talk.
Actual 6-year-old child who delivers this heart-wrenching performance, punching the doll, saying, "Why won't you talk? I'm gonna get in trouble."
It's
Yeah.
really
And that's
sad.
not even like the best moment of his performance in the movie. Like he is selling absolutely everything throughout. My God.
Kid's great.
More on that
Yeah,
when we
like,
get to
we
Spoiler
will-
Town, though.
We will tongue-in-cheek content warn bad kid actors from time to time just because it's kind of annoying.
Sure.
This is not a bad kid actor situation.
We've
Yeah.
got two pretty darn good kid actors back to back.
Yeah, actually. That's the new series that we're doing.
Yeah, Gay Wrath Month? No, Good Kid Actor Month.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, am I wrong in remembering there's good kid actors in the next movie we're picking?
It's hard for me to say because it's a different language.
Right, yeah, that does
Fair
make it
enough,
difficult
fair enough.
to determine that. We talked about that
We
in
still-
Rear Exports.
But
We have one very big content warning left.
oh shit, I forgot about that.
The big
yeah,
one.
I accidentally bypassed. There is sexual assault in this movie, not from the doll. I
Important
don't know
note.
why I
Yeah.
need to note that.
Chucky
Well,
would.
He totally
that is
would.
not
He
true.
absolutely
That is
would.
not true. Someone here hasn't seen Seed of Chucky.
The Lakeshore
The
Strangler
seed is
would not
Chucky's
do that.
sperm.
Oh my
Don't
God,
say
no.
that. Oh God,
no.
I
Are you
can't.
sure the doll's dick?
Actually, I think they do.
Oh my God.
No.
There's a doll on doll sex scene.
Good. You know what?
This
Good.
series, man.
I can't
Anyway.
wait to get to that one.
Anyway, there is sexual assault.
Yeah,
it's pretty like gross and like realistically done.
Yeah,
So
it
very
is,
uncomfortable.
But there is no
Interrupted and
nudity
very
in this
brief.
movie. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it gets interrupted quick.
It is. You know, that's one thing that you cannot say about a lot of assault in 80s movies is
Oh
that
yes,
it
that is a really good point.
not only is it like thankfully interrupted and or brief, but this one also like it doesn't. You know how a lot of movies do the sexual assault's gross, but I mean like we like seeing her naked though, right? Isn't that like what we're all here for?
Right,
This
yeah.
movie doesn't do that, and I appreciate that a
I
whole
do
lot.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's frankly that was the biggest issue with the first VHS. So like,
Yeah.
isn't this grody? But like, come on. And it's
Yeah.
no, guys.
No, actually.
Yeah.
Not our thing.
actually, that's gross. But yeah, no, this movie does not do that.
Thanks, Chucky. Ally.
He may be misogynist, but anyway, that's I think all the content warnings.
Yeah. Perfect. Let's see what's next. I feel like we're supposed to talk
there
about
a-
something else
this-
before I get to the spoiler
It's
summary.
really scary to not know what we need to do next.
Oh, you're right.
You know what?
Scary.
You know what else is scary? Potentially this movie, but I can't answer that. Emma?
Neither could I.
I can answer that movie.
Thank you so much,
question.
Retake, clacker, and action.
I can answer that question.
Thank you, Emma.
Good.
The movie's not scary.
Yeah, okay.
It's not,
yeah,
no.
it's really
Hey,
not.
hey.
It's
I feel like I need to interject here. 7-year-old Noah was scared to shit of Chucky when a Noah-sized Chucky doll met him eye to eye at a store one time.
the doll is the size of a 6-year-old child, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, sure. When the fucking aunt early on is carrying that thing down the hallway and
oh my god, it's a full ass kid.
Everything. It's so good.
Wait a sec. Let me check my Child's Play review, because when did... Oh god, it doesn't tell me when Bride of Chucky came out. When Bride of Chucky came out, I remember it was Christmas time. I am shopping with my mom, 1998. So I'm 5 years old. And there is Chucky. And if you don't know Bride of Chucky, Google what he looks like in that, because he's stapled together and fucked up. And that dude is like eye height for me. Full-size Chucky doll at whatever store we were shopping at scared the piss out of me. And that has contributed to my fear of dolls up to current era. I think I've gotten over it now. Like, Annabelle didn't faze me. This didn't faze me. But, you know, conceptually, I'm still very afraid of dolls.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he is shredded in that one, isn't he?
Oh, he's yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
he's
kind of badass,
ripped.
but that would also scare the shit out of me.
That dude juices.
Actually, the phrase is, that dude is juicing.
That dude's juicing.
Or on the juice, perhaps.
He's sauced.
Okay. Well,
is he goated?
With that, we have gotten through our spoiler-free portion of the podcast. So if you haven't seen this movie and you think you might want to, go watch it and then come back once you have. Because now we're joined... What's that?
I'm sorry, but just like one thing I love about our podcast is if you haven't seen the movie, you got like a solid 30 minutes of content before you can listen to before we actually get into like anything that you shouldn't listen to. And frankly, you're welcome.
And never mind how much of that 30 minutes is talking about things like Ocean's 11 or X-Men or whatever the hell.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We don't do that.
We only talk about horror movies.
This is a horror movie podcast where we talk about horror movies.
Yeah, it's in the name.
Yeah, that's a good line.
That's
yeah.
It can't be more clear than that.
Okay, I'm gonna jump into the spoiler summary.
Kick it, Emma.
The spoiler summary comes to us from Wikipedia, so thank you, Wikipedia. Detective Mike Norris chases fugitive serial killer Charles Lee Ray through the streets of Chicago and into a toy store. After being shot by Norris, a dying Ray performs a voodoo chant to transfer his soul to one of the Good Guy brand talking dolls on display.
I could hear that in block caps, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. The store is struck by lightning and explodes, and Norris finds Ray's lifeless body in the rubble next to the doll. Widow Karen Barclay's 6-year-old son, Andy, desperately wants a Good Guy doll for his birthday, but she can't afford one. Soon after, she learns that a homeless man outside of her workplace has gotten hold of a Good Guy doll and is trying to sell it. She buys it and gives it to Andy. The doll appears normal and refers to itself as Chucky. That night, Karen's best friend Maggie watches over Andy while Karen works late. After Andy's bedtime, Maggie finds Chucky sitting in front of a television tuned to late-night newscast about Ray's death. She is then attacked by Chucky, causing her to fall out of the window to her death. Police search the apartment, and Norris considers Andy a suspect, despite Karen's protests. Andy claims that Chucky killed Maggie and says that Chucky told him that his real name was Charles Lee Ray. The next morning, Chucky orders Andy to skip school and take a train downtown. While Andy is distracted, Chucky sneaks into the home of his former accomplice, Eddie Caputo, and kills him by causing a gas explosion. Destroyed building number 1. Oh. Well, I guess 2.
Yeah, that's the second
number 2,
one.
because
the first was the toy store. Andy is again considered a suspect and is admitted to a psychiatric hospital after claiming Chucky is the culprit. Karen returns home with Chucky and discovers batteries in the doll's box. The doll has been moving and speaking without them. Frightened, Karen lights her fireplace and threatens to burn Chucky, who violently comes alive in her arms and attacks her before escaping. Karen goes to the police and explains what happened. Norris does not believe her. Karen finds the man who sold her the doll and asks for more information. Norris arrives and interrogates the man, forcing him to admit that he took the doll from the torched toy store. Karen unsuccessfully tries to convince Norris that the doll is alive, but he insists that he killed Ray. After bringing Karen home, Norris is attacked by Chucky, and in the ensuing fight, he shoots the doll, whose wound inexplicably bleeds and causes pain. Chucky escapes to his former voodoo instructor, John, who informs him that the longer his soul remains in the doll, the more human the doll will become. Chucky demands that John help him reverse the spell, but he refuses, stating that Chucky's soul transfer violated everything he taught him about voodoo. Chucky tortures John with a voodoo doll, forcing him to reveal that in order to escape the doll's body, Chucky must transfer his soul to the first human he revealed his true identity to, Andy, the 6-year-old boy.
Dun, dun, dun.
Chucky stabs the voodoo doll in the chest, mortally wounding John, and escapes. Karen and Norris arrive shortly after. Before dying, John tells them that to kill Chucky, they must strike at his heart. Chucky arrives at the psychiatric hospital where Andy is being held and kills a doctor with an electroshock therapy device. In the chaos, Andy escapes and flees home, but Chucky follows closely behind and knocks him out. As Chucky prepares to possess him with a voodoo chant, Karen and Norris arrive. Karen and Andy manage to trap Chucky in the fireplace and light him on fire, but a charred Chucky rises and chases Andy. Karen shoots Chucky repeatedly, blowing him to pieces. Norris's partner, Jack, arrives at the apartment, initially refusing to believe the 3 story about the doll being alive. Chucky's body suddenly bursts through a vent to strangle Jack, and Karen manages to tear Chucky off of Jack, and Norris shoots Chucky's body through the heart, finally killing him. ? The question mark wasn't in the Wikipedia, but I put it there because it's kind of, yeah.
Well, because, I don't know, some of us have the benefit of knowing there's 8 more of these bad boys.
There's more of these movies.
And 3 seasons
Jack,
of TV.
Norris, Jack, Norris, Karen, and Andy then leave the room with a traumatized Andy turning back to look at Chucky's remains. The end.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and that's the movie. So now we can jump into the spoilers.
Finally, we can jump into these spoilers.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so it's funny that we talk about the fact that this audio quality in this movie is actually like pretty decent, because when I watched it on HBO, and I don't know if this is like, I don't know if this is a common problem for anyone else or if this is like my TV, but sometimes when I load up a movie or a show or something on a streaming service, it only plays part of the audio tracks.
Oh.
And I've noticed this. It's very common for several TV shows we watch, like Hell's Kitchen, for example. You'll get the big like dramatic music sting, and then the subtitles pop up saying previously on Hell's Kitchen, but you don't hear anything. You get like this background noise and audio, like music only track that no one can speak in.
That's odd.
And
so
at the beginning
weird.
of Child's Play, there's a lot of music, and I'm hearing like some car noises, but kind of muted, and the gun noises are so like tasteful. They're like boom, 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 and I'm like, is this movie like way more artistic than I thought it would be? And then I see subtitles pop up, and I'm like, oh no, I've just missed like people noises that have happened so far, because he is yelling at Eddie and I can't hear him. So then I reloaded and it sounded fine.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But
yeah, I don't think that's happened to me.
Yeah, it happens to me on a semi-regular basis. The easiest way to do it is you just back out and usually pop back in and everything's fine.
Just reload it.
But it does happen every now and then where I don't notice for a concerningly long time because no one will talk for a minute. So I'll miss like background, like if there's like a radio playing, I won't hear it. If there's all kinds of stuff like that, just gets filtered out. It's kind of funny.
It is, honestly.
If I could do it on purpose, that would be great. You know, remove audio from movies, and then I could layer in my own voices and be the funniest guy around.
Of course, right. You could make Child's Play.
That has nothing to do with this
over.
movie, though. Child's Play dubbed over.
So true, so true. There was something we were talking about before where we were like, oh, we'll talk about that more in the spoiler section. What was it?
The kid's performance and the size of the doll? Or
I think it was just the kid's performance.
The kid's performance. He did real good.
He's fantastic. My God.
For one, his introduction scene is really funny and haunting.
Yeah.
He's a really cute kid. And you first see him as he is making breakfast. And he is like way too young to
adorable.
be making himself breakfast.
100%.
He puts like toast in the toaster and it gets burnt. He like overfills the cereal bowl and like pours into milk into it, and it's like overflowing.
Everything is spilled everywhere.
He puts like 5 like spoons of sugar into the cereal bowl. And
it's like Fruit Loops, you know, there's already sugar in that.
And then
he gets the burnt toast and puts like an ice cream scoop of butter onto it.
Yeah.
And throughout all of this, so me and Piper were watching this together, and both of us were like, is this kid like abandoned? Like,
I know, me
what
too.
What is going on? Why is he making himself such a terrible breakfast?
He's not making it for himself at all.
Yeah, he carries it into his mom's room and he's like, Mom, I made you breakfast in bed. And it's like really cute. But
I love the way that like the camera follows him walking down the hall, and you're watching him just like spill milk on the floor every couple of steps.
Oh, it's so funny.
Oh my god.
yeah.
It's so funny. The orange juice that he spilled everywhere, and it's like half empty by the time he gets there, because they have, cannot stress enough, actual 6-year-old doing all this stuff.
Yeah. And he does a great job carrying the movie for, I don't know that it's the first half, but I'll say like the first half.
It's just about the first half.
Because it lasts a while where we, the audience, don't see Chucky move or hear Chucky talk until Chucky like reveals himself to the mom and attacks her. Yeah. And so the beginning of this movie is you seeing this kid saying that Chucky says certain things or does certain things. And then the kid like kind of begging Chucky to like stop pretending and to speak. And like just the kid does like so well. And I feel like you're introduced to the kid in like such like a cute kind of fun and worrying way that you're like rooting for him and caring about him. So when he's like crying because he might get taken away from his mom, trying to convince this doll to like talk, it's heartbreaking.
It hits. It really hits.
And
it really does hit.
One of the reasons why I like this movie so much is the concept of horror of not showing your monster too early.
Yeah.
I think they do a really good job of that in this movie. You still see kind of Chucky like halfway through of like being animated and like doing his whole shtick. But that first half of the movie, we are not seeing that. And they're just kind of letting it be this thing of like, you, the audience, know something is up because you saw a trailer or you know what this movie is.
Yeah.
But letting it just kind of play where this kid is kind of like broken and freaking out and scared. And then the Chucky or the doll is just not doing anything. And then when the mom finally is alone with the doll, and she's starting to kind of like investigate things, for one, I thought, so basically she has the doll in the living room and she's trying to talk to it, trying to like get it to talk because she's finally starting to be like, what if my kid is telling the truth?
Right.
And Chucky says like, I love hugs or something. And so she just kind of sighs defeated and goes to the kitchen and grabs like this giant box that the doll came in. And in the commercial at the beginning of the movie, it said that Chuck or like the good boy dolls know like 3 unique sentences. And so I thought the sentences were going to be printed on the box and like the hug sentence like wasn't going to be one of them or something. And so that's how she was going to like figure out something was going on. But then she's looking at the box and then batteries fall out.
Yeah.
And that's her clue of like, wait, what the fuck? And then she kind of like goes and investigates the doll and sees that there's no batteries in it. And I just feel like we, the audience, know what's happening, but that reveal to that character was good. So well done. Yeah. And I was like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was like, oh yeah, this is great.
And frankly, even while we know what's happening, it really is hard to really like reckon with the fact that, well, it's definitely the doll. Like, obviously we know it's the doll. We're watching Chucky the Killer Doll. Yeah. But it feels like a reveal to us too, almost. And it's like, yeah, it's definitely the doll.
Yeah.
And we all knew it, but it's like, it's the doll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear a little bit of like earlier concept stuff? from the making of this
I would
movie?
love
God.
to. I would
In
love
the
to.
original idea, the original script, when Don Mancini wrote it the first time, before rewrites with John Lafayette and Tom Holland, not that Tom Holland though.
Different Tom Holland.
His original idea, the title was actually going to be Batteries Not Included originally, but then he changed it because that title was already taken. He changed the title. The working title after that was Blood Buddy. And I will get to the reason for that in just a minute. But
that franchise would never have taken off.
Right. Okay, so the original idea for this movie was going to be sort of focused around, the movie would kind of address issues with like advertising affecting children and stuff like that. And it was originally going to spend actually more of its runtime being ambiguous, toying with the audience and making you wonder, is it the doll or is it the kid? It was going to do that for even longer, actually, than the half of the runtime that we get that from in this. But, okay, so the reason it was going to be called Blood Buddy, this is weird. The original idea was that the doll would be filled with fake blood, basically. And this is just a thing about the doll. Like, this is a good guy doll, but the original idea was the Blood Buddy doll, that was a doll filled with fake blood that would basically cause it to bleed if it was played with too roughly. And the doll would come to life after Andy mixed his own blood into the doll's blood. So the doll would kind of end up sort of embodying his like suppressed rage and targeting his enemies and stuff. And the reason that they ended up not going with that idea was during a rewrite, when another writer got involved, they said, hey, why do you think parents would be buying their kids a doll full of blood?
I'm so glad somebody said it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that conversation went, but that was the reason that they switched off of that concept. And then after that, they moved to this other idea where the way that Charles Lee Ray ended up inhabiting the doll was very different. The original idea, once that part kind of came in, was that he was going to be getting like, already arrested and trialed and sentenced and whatnot. And he was going to be getting like executed at the same time that a particular doll was getting made in a factory, like close by or something. And somehow there was some kind of like tenuous connection between those two events that allowed him to put his soul into the doll. So for
I can already see it cutting between him and the chair.
Right, you can imagine how the scene would play out, and it would just kind of be like, well, why is this happening though? I don't know why that is. Like for as bad as the voodoo is in this movie, at least it is sold as a thing that he's able to do intentionally while he dies. Right? So
here's the thing. Because I am a lover of weird, ambiguous magics that do not have rules. But one thing about because we watched Freaky for this podcast. And Freaky comes from a long series of movies that have very racist ways of doing the body swap kind of thing in past iterations. It's always really interesting to see how people just kind of can't seem to do these without being a little bit I don't want to say politically incorrect, but also racist isn't quite the right word for it, but insensitive. Because even Freaky is here's this ancient Aztec blade or whatever that you have to stab someone with at exactly the right time for all this shit to work. And I love Freaky, and I like Child's Play just fine. And it's I would almost prefer sometimes for it to be fate, or this fated thing that if you are being executed next to this weird blood doll factory, maybe your soul will just end up in a doll.
Yeah, just a weird Final Destination X-Files episode kind of thing where it's just I don't know, weird shit happens sometimes, and he's in a doll now.
I think the only problem is, and the reason why we keep falling back to these kind of mythology explanations and whatnot, and religious explanations, is because those have rules, and both Freaky and Child's Play only end because there are rules to the kind of ritual that ended the character up where they are. And if you just have a guy whose soul ended up in a doll, maybe it's a little less easy than to have a character look the mom in the eye and say, and by the way, this is beef that I have with the mom. He looks her in the eye and says, "You have to shoot this doll in the heart for it to die." And she's like, well, he doesn't like say it in so many words, but he says the heart is where he's the most human. Yeah. And then she literally shoots him everywhere but the heart.
She has him lying on the ground and she's standing over him point blank. She empties the gun into his torso and she manages somehow to miss his heart.
It's like crazy.
I know lots of times when we have people shooting at things, I'll like, I don't know if I say this out loud on the podcast as often as I think it, but very frequently when people are operating guns in movies, I'll look at the shot that they miss and I'll be like, I'm pretty sure I could make that actually. Or other times they'll make it and I'm like, no, there's no way that this particular person at this particular time could make that shot. With this one, I don't feel bad about saying this at all. I would have killed Chucky in that scene easily.
You would have.
Because when you're holding the gun 6 inches away from his goddamn torso, you should be able to hit the middle of it.
Here's my proposition to fix this, and it's really quite simple. Have Mike Humperdinck, detective,
Michael Humperdinck,
be the one to have heard the shoot him in the heart thing, because she literally isn't even the one to kill him. He's the one to kill Chucky, and she has to like yell it across the room at him to shoot him in the heart. That would have solved everything if he had just been the one to know, because then there's no shouting, and her like shooting him everywhere but the heart is like, she goes by zombie rules first off, which is totally understandable.
Definitely makes sense. Yeah.
I get it.
And then to immobilize him makes sense. But if she hadn't been told shoot him in the heart, I would excuse her actions. Sure. But she was the one who heard that information.
Yeah. So that doesn't quite hold up.
No, but it's kind of funny more than anything else. It's frustrating.
And I do still like the way that final scene plays out, so I'm not like mad about it.
Oh no, yeah.
But
yeah. But anyway, back to the like blood doll.
Yeah,
concept.
That's what an awful lot of the early concept work for this stuff, for this movie looked like. There was something else in the early concept stuff. I'm like looking at the Wikipedia page right now to see what I'm missing.
On the topic of sorry.
I was just gonna say it's kind of funny how you mentioned that the doll would consume some of his rage and lash out against his enemies. Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I feel like there's elements of that story very present in the remake.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit more
there. There does appear to be a long-standing tradition in the Child's Play series of the sequels using ideas that got rejected in early drafts of the original. Because as you read through the development section on the Wikipedia page, literally every time that it talks about an early idea that didn't get used, there will be like a little addendum afterward where it says, this idea was later used in Bride of Chucky, or like whatever other Chucky movie it ended up getting used
so much of it, once Don Mancini got
once he got it rolling,
the authority to like do what he wanted, it really like started moving.
So, on the topic of the name of the movie, though, because Batteries Not Included is clever and funny.
Right.
Child's Play, so a lot of the time I think about how so many movies have become just like commonplace cultural icons that like I don't think about how they must have felt when they came out. Like Star Wars, for instance. I heard about Star Wars my whole goddamn life. None of that's impressive or exciting to me just because I've always known about it. Child's Play is such a good name for this movie.
Right?
It's like perfect. It's so good.
Yeah, and it's like just enigmatic enough that you don't really know much about the movie, but like between the title and the imagery associated, you're like, ooh.
Like, I get it. I see the title, I see the doll, and I'm like, this doll is gonna kill someone.
Definitely, right?
That's all I need. It doesn't let on anything else, and I don't need it to. Versus, like, no offense to my favorite slasher, Candyman. You see the title Candyman. You see the cover. It's an eye with a B on it. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
What's happening here? You're not predicting a story about racism in like inner city Chicago.
I wonder how they came up with the title.
I'm so curious because I do love it.
Do you want to hear who almost voiced Chucky? Because I got some names that you will not be expecting.
I'm so excited.
Brad Dourif. We almost got the first name considered. John Lithgow.
Okay.
Which probably would have been good. But the longest running one, who actually they got all the way to test screenings with this voice, Jessica Walter.
Of like the full movie?
Yeah. The idea was that she voiced the doll the entire time.
Release the Walter cut?
They got all the way to
Jessica
test
Walter?
screenings and decided that it wasn't working. Is she
the one that does the toy Chucky voice?
It is somebody else who does the toy voice, actually.
Okay.
That's so interesting.
But isn't that odd? Now, that cut of the movie that made it to that test screening, it performed really, really poorly. It was 2 hours long. And it included scenes
they changed a lot.
of it had more scenes from the voodoo guy. There was apparently a couple of scenes where he like performed some sort of a ritual and like healed a child or something to kind of establish his power as a practitioner, I guess. And they decided to cut that from the runtime because it was just not serving the movie the way that they wanted to. They also had a longer scene at the beginning, I think, with Brad Dourif as the Lakeshore Strangler, Charles Lee Ray. And it was going to show him like stalking a drunk woman who turned out actually to be an undercover cop. And I think that's just how like the chase at the beginning of the movie was supposed to get started. And they decided to cut that
I actually really
well.
like that.
I feel like a little bit more context
I don't think it
for
fits.
the chase could have been good, but I also feel like it could have been bad.
I wish Mike Humperdinck had been a woman through the whole movie.
That might actually have been way more fun, yeah.
That would have been so dope.
Although there's kind of this like running thing going through the movie that Humperdinck is just like a terrible cop. And that wouldn't be funny if he was a woman.
No, it wouldn't. And the other thing about...
He's also not the worst cop.
No,
in the movie. His partner,
that's the big thing, right?
Handlebar mustache porn star cop.
He's emphasized as being a shit cop, but he is not the worst cop that we even get.
The thing is, what's interesting about Mike Humperdinck being a bad cop...
I love that we're committed to just calling him Humperdinck for the whole thing. I think that's great. Sorry,
Tim
continue.
Dune, Mike Humperdinck.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, he's a bad cop, but what's interesting is... out of horror movie cops, he does seem the most genuinely interested in doing what he needs to do to get this case solved.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't take that long to get onto the hero's side, and then once he is, he just kind of, like, even if he doesn't believe her, he goes with it. Yeah. You know, he's like, oh my God, she's willing to really put herself in danger. This must be like genuinely real to her. I have the very least have to accompany her so she doesn't get hurt. And he doesn't like make a point of rubbing it in that he still doesn't think she's right, but he's here anyway, you know?
Yeah, well, when he gets attacked by the doll though, he doesn't tell her about that afterward. Did you notice that? The thing that changes his mind about whether or not she's crazy is he gets attacked directly by Chucky and he can't deny it anymore. But then when he goes to join her, he doesn't say, the doll attacked me and now I believe you. He just says, I'm here to help, basically.
And I actually appreciate that because, like... First of all, it's really funny that it feels like he might be just embarrassed that he got his ass beat by
he's just embarrassed.
But for her, it would feel like that he just decided to believe her, which, you know, it's kind of nice to have that instead of the classic, now do you believe me that you've been attacked by the doll? You finally believe me? Instead, it's just like, all right, we're in this together. She's like, thank God.
Because of the way he is through the whole rest of the movie, though, I can't help but see it as anything other than, like, him saving face.
Oh, yeah, no, it's really funny. It really does feel like he got his ass beat.
Yeah,
he's just like, anyway.
He's like, well, all right, I guess this is what I'm doing now. Gotta...
Charles Lee Ray in the doll body.
Yeah.
He does really embody the kind of John Mulaney. The adult life is so fucking weird. You're like, this might as well happen at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, Emma, go ahead.
I was going to ask if there were any fun facts about the practical effects for
As a matter of fact, there are.
Because they were really well done.
Yeah, I wanted to build toward that, actually, because that's the coolest thing that I have to talk about. So do you mind if I just talk about the voodoo?
Oh, yeah. What's a lamer thing you can talk about?
Why don't I...
Before we hit voodoo,
Okay, yeah.
let me detour. I like the names in this movie, specifically Eddie Caputo and Charles Lee Ray.
Eddie Caputo is such a good name.
Modern movies will give a man a first name, and everyone knows he's supposed to have a last name, and in the credits, it'll just be Eddie.
Yeah.
And
not this guy.
Even if people call him the full name, Charles Lee Ray, what a name for a serial killer.
Actually,
like that's a great serial killer
The
name.
reason that is such a perfect serial killer name is that it is derived from Charles Manson, Lee Harvey Oswald, and James Earl Ray.
Oh my god.
Literally,
that
they
makes
just
sense.
took
That's
one
kind
from
of what I was
each
thinking.
and...
Firstly, that's
and
great.
It turns
Secondly,
into a perfect serial name.
The 3-name convention has been a banger since John Wilkes Booth.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks, Booth, for starting that one.
Old Booth.
Appreciate you.
I like that they chose
As
3
his friends
names
called him.
that once you say who they're from, I definitely am like, oh yes, that's definitely who they're from. But they are generic enough names that hearing Charles Lee Ray, I'm not like, oh, you're just referencing famous serial killers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like when you hear the name of like literally every single character in Lost and you're just like, we get it, philosophers, okay. But like with this, it's just you hear it and you're like, yeah, that's a killer name. Not like that's a killer name, but like that's a killer's name, you know?
That's a
like,
killer name. Yeah. I strive to be that good at just capturing vibes in a name. That's like that man is Chucky. When he's Charles Lee Ray, when he's this fucking greasy ass worm tongue looking motherfucker, and then he's Chucky when he's the doll. That's just like the perfect. They did it. Yeah. They really did it.
Yeah, man entered a doll and he was just like, I guess I'm Chucky now.
Yeah, and then he was like,
I'd say we're Chucky.
Shut the fuck up.
Also, when they're like, oh, his nickname was Chucky. Like, that grown-ass man does not
Nobody
get called
called
Chucky.
that guy.
Eddie Caputo, that's the most Eddie Caputo motherfucker I've ever seen in my life.
100%.
The voodoo guy called him Chucky.
Yeah, well, he's wrong,
he's allowed.
frankly.
He was his teacher.
No,
Teachers can
like,
call you things.
Yeah.
Speaking of...
Oh, yeah, teachers call you things you don't like all the time. Speaking of the voodoo guy.
Voodoo. All right, so in the scene where Karen and Humperdinck go to the voodoo place and they meet the voodoo guy just as he dies, they're, as they look at all the murals painted on the walls and stuff, which a lot of them look really cool. One of them has some text written on it, and that text says, like, thank you, mighty Damballa, for life after death. So I decided to just try and find out what that was. Who's Damballa? What's going on there? I don't know if it's pronounced Damballa, or Damballa. I think we hear Chucky say Damballa in a chant later on in the movie, so I'm gonna say Damballa, hoping that is correct. But basically, I just thought that was really interesting because, 80s Hollywood voodoo TM doesn't name drop specific characters or anything. They tend, movie voodoo has a tendency to treat the whole thing as though it's just this, godless witchcraft thing, right? It's just kind of, I don't know, scary. You do ritual and bad thing happen. And it's always painted as this, malevolent, destructive force that actual practiced voodoo is not whatsoever. Additionally, they use the doll. The dolls are not actually used very much in actual voodoo practice ever, apparently. And when they are used, it's not in the form of a curse doll the way that they're typically portrayed as being. I will end up talking about curse dolls on a different episode of this podcast when we eventually cover The Night House, because I'm going to make sure that we do that, and there's a good bit of curse doll talk to be had about that movie. So get to that when we get to it. But about Damballa. So I ended up just reading a little bit about some of who the characters are in the belief system of voodoo societies and stuff like that. And I learned the reason that it is, part of the reason that it is able to be so constantly maligned and misrepresented and such is that voodoo as a religious system doesn't have any kind of a centralized authority at all.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes perfect sense. But then because all of, Western culture only ever respects things that have centralized hierarchical power structures, that means that we can just shit on it, right? So Damballa as a character is one of the Loi or Loai, depending on who you're talking to. This is a word that I have a very difficult time pronouncing, so I'm going to say Loa. The Damballa is the most important of all the Loa, the first to be created by Grand Met, apparently. Grand Met or Bondier being basically the all-powerful creator god figure. The name Bondier is derived from the French phrase bon Dieu, meaning good god. And Grand Met more or less means something akin to like Grand Master. He's like the All Father though, right? He created everything starting with Damballa, and it is kind of through and with Damballa that everything else was created, which to me makes Damballa come across as being sort of like a Jesus type character if you're going to go comparing to Christianity. Apparently he's more frequently syncretized to characters like Moses and Saint Patrick for some reason. I assume that's just because, Christian and like Catholic belief systems won't let you syncretize any non-God character to Jesus because like the whole one God, three God thing, Yeah. But in any case, Damballa is said to be the Sky Father and the primordial creator of all life, the first thing to ever be created by Grand Met. And they say that he is portrayed as being a massive snake, either black or white, depending on who you talk to. He created the cosmos using his 7,000 coils to form the stars and planets and to shape the hills and valleys of Earth. But the interesting stuff that I ended up finding from this is that he is, as a character, Damballa is perceived as being benevolent, patient, wise, kind, very detached from like the ups and downs of daily human life. He's not really super connected, but his presence is said to bring peace. He represents a continuum which is, quote, at once the ancient past and the assurance of the future. He was and he is to come, basically, and he is eternity. So that kind of connects him to this life after death, life beyond life kind of idea, right? But he's not properly associated with resurrection, I don't think. Which kind of plays into the idea that that Chucky kind of like the voodoo guy says, he perverted everything that he ever taught him and he used it for evil, and he's an outrage against nature, all of this. And playing further into that, just a little detail that I thought was kind of neat. Offerings to Damballa are to be things like white foods and flowers. Lots of times you'll see things like milk, rice, coconut. There's a particular syrups and perfumes that he's said to prefer. But one of the greatest offerings that you can make to him is a white, uncooked egg on a mound of white flour. And I thought that was really interesting because when Chucky starts acting as the doll, what's the first thing that he does? He dumps a bunch of flour all over the kitchen. And there is not an egg to be found anywhere in any of that.
Well, but his son is gender fluid,
Okay, hold on now.
There's an egg in there.
So,
and Glenda is pretty pale too.
I've seen their name written as Glenn/Duh, and I kind of love that.
I kind of like that, yeah.
I hate it.
Okay, that's fine. That's pretty transphobic of you, Emma.
My nouns are Glenda.
Not
my pronouns, my nouns.
This is so stupid. I was gonna say, so here's my thing, right? That's very interesting, and
it's only tangentially connected to the movie, but I thought it was cool, so I needed to tell you all about it.
No, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Props for doing the research.
Yeah, because when we watched one of the worst James Bond movies, Live and Let Die.
Of course. A classic.
they kind of try and integrate similar concepts very poorly. And I think it's really interesting to kind of say that like a character who perverts a religion and is an abomination against nature and stuff, that's like a really interesting concept to kind of give this serial killer.
Right?
You know? Because to me,
if the voodoo were approached better, it would be really cool.
Right, and I think that there would have been a conversation to be had about the fact that Chucky is a white dude doing this as well, if there had been a little more attention paid to it. As it is, I think that the purpose could have been served better if the whole front of the movie went down exactly the way it did, and there was just something about just like the fucking amount of spite in this man that kept him living in the doll.
Just too angry to die.
Just too angry to fucking die. That would have like served the same purpose without having an explanation that has a need for nuance that this movie just doesn't give it.
Yeah, and like I feel like from there, for him to be the doll man who is held together entirely by rage and spite for life makes him feel more dangerous in a lot of those like ending scenes, right, where they're like shooting the doll apart with the gun and he just keeps like coming after them. That makes him so much scarier if he's literally only held together by his rage at that point, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's the other thing is like I did not know because I know like the basic cultural touchstones about Child's Play and Chucky. So I know the doll, I know his name's Chucky. I know he has a gender fluid kid. I know that he, I know Tiffany exists, all this stuff. I did not know that the reason he went into the doll was voodoo. I just kind of assumed it was just pure spite based on the fact that like, there's so many of these movies and he's constantly just like an angry little dude who refuses to die.
He invokes voodoo in, I think, every single movie.
Yeah, that was really interesting to me. It kind of came out of nowhere for me because I had not known that. But here's one thing I will say about the voodoo versus spite argument. If it had just been spite, I'm pretty sure that building wouldn't have exploded. So all things considered.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
We need the building to explode.
Thanks, voodoo, for blowing up that building.
Yeah, thanks, Perversion of Voodoo by Charles Lee Ray, for blowing up this building.
Yeah,
And also by Don Mancini, John LaFia, and Tom Holland, who wrote this movie.
Yes. Yeah,
no,
thanks,
it was
guys.
only Charles Lee Ray.
No, it was the fictional man who did it. It was his fault.
It was his fault.
It was all him.
That's what they say in the movie.
Yeah.
That's what they have the good guys whose thoughts he perverted say. So it's all Chucky's fault.
Heidi ho. Speaking of blowing buildings up,
Heidi ho.
Let's talk about some of the practical effects in this movie because hot damn, I love the shit that they did to this doll. Now, one of the easier things to notice as you watch the movie, right, is that the doll changes over the course of the movie. It becomes very obvious on like the back end of it, right? But the doll is actually changing subtly through the entire time that you see it. Like, I think almost every time that you see it, they have altered it just slightly in some way. And one of the cooler things that I think they did is the doll's hairline recedes over the course of the movie. It's really easy to spot the difference between his hairline at the beginning when he's just possessed the doll and like toward the end right before he gets set on fire, right? It's really easy to see the difference because by the time he gets thrown in the fire, he's got like almost like he's partway to a widow's peak at that point, right? But that happens actually just real gradually over the course of the whole movie, and you can start to notice it if you know to look for it. You can start to notice it before he even reveals himself as being alive and evil to the mom. And
that's really cool.
Yeah, like there's just little subtle differences in the way that the doll moves and stuff. Like obviously as it gets further along, the ways that they articulate it become more and more advanced. And that's all very cool. But that's not always a puppet, actually. The times that it's a puppet, it's pretty clear, right? But there are actually a handful of scenes where that is a guy in a suit. His name's Ed.
Called it.
His name is Ed Gale. He's a little person.
What do you mean called
and
it?
They
I knew
put
that.
him in a costume, and they put him on a set with like a bunch of enlarged props to make him look like he was appropriately doll-sized.
So here's the question. Nina brought up the fire stunt. Is that an actual fire stunt that he did, or is that
a fire stunt someone did?
Yeah.
Because it looked to me like it was a fire stunt.
I thought it was a puppet on fire.
I am fairly sure that it's a puppet on fire. I do not have any information about that stunt specifically.
I want to look.
I feel like if it was a person, you definitely would. Have a sec. I'll Google it while you.
Yeah, I'm
keep
very
talking.
curious.
I googled Ed Gale.
Yeah.
He was apparently a sex criminal.
Oh no!
No!
Shit! God damn it, Ed Gale! Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, I'm reading it now.
Okay, he was actually on fire.
Ah, come on, man. Why'd you have to do something
He
that
was on
cool
fire?
and
was
then
right.
do something
I was
so
right.
incredibly uncool? Fuck. I hate finding this shit out.
Yeah.
That's terrible. All right. I mention him by name
We're all
specifically
missing the
because I
point.
want to credit him for a cool thing that he did, and then I find out he's a piece of shit. I'm going to bleep his name out. I'm not going to do that. Just, fuck. I'm angry.
Ed. Yeah, fuck you, Ed.
We're all missing the greater point, which is that I was right.
You were
and
right.
they did
Yeah,
set
that is
him on
actually
fire.
a person in a costume that's on fire. Yeah, I thought for sure that was a puppet on fire. Wow.
I just thought the way he was moving was too. I've seen a decent amount of fire stunts for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe it was all the Mythbusters I watched as a kid.
But
like,
they're cool.
They're cool as hell. But I'd like people who are doing a fire stunt move a certain way, and it really looked like that.
They move like a guy on fire.
Oh my God, I
yeah,
wonder
they
why.
like they spin around a lot, and they do exaggerated movements, especially like I feel like from that time period, that was kind of just how you did a fire stunt, was like, oh
Yeah, you do the like Danger Will Robinson arm wave thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
true.
Base Lost in Space reference. It's very cool, Noah.
I found a quick 4 heads in a row of Chucky changing.
Oh, hey, yeah, you can
his-
see the hairline receding.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, that and
Well,
like
that
the
changes. I
whole
love the
area around the
characterization of
eyes,
it.
like
I'm
Getting
so
more
mad
sunken.
that I didn't notice that now.
I made
It's
a note
cool,
about
right?
it later in the movie, but I didn't think it actually happened until he became like mask off Chucky.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you distinctly notice.
Of course,
But,
right?
you intro that with his big old sneering face. And I'm like, oh, that's just the moment where they changed him out and made him into a new one. Now,
Yeah.
I almost want to rewatch the movie just to watch him change.
I've watched it twice this week. I recommend it. The movie's fun enough, and it's only an hour and a half. Like it's a fun watch. It's short. It's cool to have details to watch out for, I say. What?
This is fun.
Do you have more special effects, Jeff?
I think I had.
Yeah. That wasn't enough to satisfy my hunger for special effects.
Yes, gimme.
That really cool note you just gave.
No,
I
you don't
need
have to
more.
have more. That was really
It took
cool. And I
9
love
different people to operate the puppet.
Oh,
They
yeah.
had a team
bet
of
it did.
9
Honestly.
Wow.
puppeteers, including one guy who actually Brock Winkless, opening his Wikipedia page to find out that he's a sex criminal now, moved his mouth
What the
using
hell?
a...
No, we don't know yet.
I don't
we
know
don't
that he
we don't
is.
know.
I'm just checking to see if he...
Oh,
if he
okay.
we are
doesn't
not
look like
making
it.
it unfounded.
Yay!
Yay!
Brock Winkless was actually the one who moved his mouth, and the way that he did it was via a like wireless control with basically he wore a helmet that captured his mouth movement and mimicked it on the doll.
So
Mm.
that's really interesting because that's the same technology that they kind of use more like
Like modern mocap
in a
shit
more detailed
stuff,
way.
like-
In the D&D movie, they have the Dragonborn characters are full puppets that they have an actor in the mocap, and as the actor is moving, the puppet on the set is moving as well. So it's this really cool mix of like practical effects and like CGI technology that we've used for like computer generated animation in the past.
That's really cool.
And it looks really good.
That's a really cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And Child's Play did it in 1988. Apparently.
In 1988.
Yeah, I thought for sure that
wild.
they were just controlling the puppet's mouth in normal control the puppet ways. But no, they built a thing that captured the dude's mouth movements and made a thing that would just copy that onto the puppet itself.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Honestly,
some 5-head strats.
Right? There's
Honestly.
some insane behind the scenes trivia in the Dead Meat videos, all the kill counts on the Chucky movies. Definitely recommend them because every movie got more puppeteers and more in-depth and crazy about it. I guess there was a lot of issues when they started moving to like pneumatic tubing to make him move.
Ooh.
And like pneumatic like air pressure
That's
shit.
cool.
Because there were like issues with getting him to work. Every movie they had like more servos in his face and shit like that. Takes were difficult because they had like the programmed movements because they moved toward actual programming of the doll at some points. Right. So they would have to like,
which they did a little bit of.
It would be like
in this one actually toward the end. You can, I mean, you can tell at the end when it's an animatronic, right? But like,
yeah. So like when they get into the program bits, they had like all the lines recorded, and it's like every time it's exactly the same.
Huh.
And sometimes the doll wouldn't work properly, and all kinds of cool stuff like that. It's just a lot of like really neat stuff about how like this team of puppeteers persevered to make Chucky such a fluid, like believable character.
Yeah. Wow.
That's really cool. I love stuff like that. I love puppets.
I love the amount of detail that Dead Meat always go into for that kind of stuff. I love that they put such a focus on it. They're better at it than I am, so.
Well, I was going to say, I love that we have someone that we can point to at least, because I know, like, I really find it interesting, but I'm terrible at research. And this has always been a podcast of 4 people who like movies, just kind of chatting about movies that we watch and having an excuse to talk about movies together. Whereas for like Chelsea and James, God, I forgot his name. That's embarrassing.
James' name.
Like this is their job, and they do a lot of really intense research and have a lot of connections, and I'm really glad that they exist, because all I can ever do is parrot the hard work that they did. So
yeah, they're the older siblings of our podcast.
In a way,
yeah. In a way. Can't believe I forgot James's name. Sorry, James.
Sorry, James.
if you're listening
Sorry, James,
right
if you're
now.
listening.
Older siblings
Thanks
of
for
the podcast,
listening.
even though we just forgot James's name.
Yeah.
Hi, Daryl.
Also,
If you're still here,
Hey,
Daryl.
If you're still here, Daryl.
What do you
what's
think
up?
of
Really
Child's
appreciate
Play?
it. You want
Yeah.
to come on the podcast sometime? I don't even care what we're covering.
Yeah, come hang out with us.
So
Yeah, that's
other
great.
stuff that this movie does that I think is kind of neat. I don't know what point they're moving toward making with this, but I love the way that Andy is always dressed kind of the same as Chucky.
Oh, I
like,
thought that
Chucky's-
the entire point was just that he is obsessed with the good guy dolls.
Right, I feel like that's
was all
like
my takeaway was.
the most of it, right? But like even when he's not wearing his like, you know, branded good guy clothes, TM, he's still dressed the way that a doll would be dressed, and the doll is the same size as him, more or less.
Yeah.
And I
true.
feel like there's got to be some sort of a point getting made by that particular comparison. I don't know what it could be.
Capitalism bad.
Probably because like a lot of the original idea was inspired by apparently Don Mancini's dad was an advertising executive of some sort.
Oh, this movie feels like something that someone who has experience with marketing would make.
I'm going to make such a dumb connection right now. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Chucky is not just a precursor to Megan because living creepy dolls, but is also a precursor in theme because Chucky, through the use of clothing and attachment, is showing that as you make dolls more and more lifelike, kids are going to get more and more like unhealthily attached to them.
Yeah.
And Megan, of course, perfected that theme when it came out in January of 2023.
Absolutely.
I still need to watch Megan so
God,
bad.
you need to.
I'm gonna have to.
You're gonna be so disappointed in it. When you
No, I know
doubt
what I'm
that.
getting
I think
into.
you're gonna
This
love
is
her
signs-
because she's
listen.
great.
I am sure I will, because literally, again, I'm a person who still likes X-Men Origins Wolverine to this day, despite it being what some would consider the worst X-Men movie. I don't think that's true. People still talk about it. Nobody talks about Apocalypse in the new Phoenix movie. So, and then checkmate atheists. And everyone talked about Megan. And here's my thing. If a lot of people talk about a movie, then I think it's worth watching, probably, in some way. And I think that Megan, I know a lot of people I trust had a lot of fun with it. And that's all I expect, is to have fun.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'll probably get to it this weekend. The new Insidious movie is coming out too, so I'm about to have a James Wan-a-thon.
Wan-a-thon.
Wan-a-thon. Sorry, that was really bad, but you
No,
can
no,
hear
I
me
like
start
the
to
idea.
laugh as I came up with it.
I loved it.
We should do a Wan-a-thon
We'll
on the
have
podcast.
to do it. We'll do a Wan-a-thon on the podcast. That'll be another like what was Flanagan was Flanuary.
Flanuary.
We'll have a Wan-a-thon.
Yeah.
We're so good at naming things on this podcast.
Wangus is atrocious. It is abysmal. I guess we'll watch Insidious 2 and Mithrigan.
or like what's that other series? It's not Insidious, but it's basically Insidious. The Conjuring.
Conjuring.
Saw.
The Conjuring and Insidious are the same movie
Insidious,
in my head.
but based on a true story.
Yeah, they're basically, to me, they're in my memory, they're the same movie.
Oh, functionally, yeah. I genuinely cannot prize certain.
It's the same
happenings.
director. It's the same actors. Like, let's be real
it's
here.
halfway to being the same
Yeah.
story. It's kind of just you
Yeah.
take the lipstick
I like
face
Insidious
goat man
more,
out and-
but I don't really like throwing the doll.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're
Anyway,
here to
who's
talk
down
about
for
Child's
some
Play.
Notes.
Notes?
I'm down for some notes.
Good. Let's do some notes.
I am hungry for some notes.
Heidi ho.
That's
I'm
not
really
a,
worried
that's not
that
a
this is
trigger
going to
for
be.
you?
I'm really worried that this is going to be like a new phrase that Nina says on a semi-regular basis now. It's just, I'll be minding my business, and then Nina will come in and go, "Heidi ho."
Yeah, you named it. It takes a while for me to cycle out these little.
Thanks, Jeff. You said it at
Vocal
the beginning,
stems.
and now Nina's just going to say it for the next month.
Well, I got terrible news for you. I'm going to say it for the next 6 months.
They're good. Solidarity.
We'll hang out
Look,
for the
you're
4th
really
of July,
lucky.
and you two will just be like, "Heidi ho,
Yeah.
Heidi ho, Heidi ho,
Yeah.
Heidi
That's
ho."
what the entire hangout's going to be.
You're really lucky that it's Child's Play and not the
Diddly ho,
ukulele
neighborinos.
apology, because the ukulele
Oh,
apology
God.
has been stuck in my head for several weeks now. Like since it came out, it's just been in the back of my head. Okay, here we go. Noah says,
Yeah.
Okay, so I heard you talking about the audio not loading properly when I went to the bathroom,
Yeah.
and that also happened to me.
Oh,
and I
well.
had exactly the same thought process of like, wow, this the audio mixing in this movie is certainly a choice. How odd. And then they started talking, and I was like, god damn it.
I'm glad it's not just me, even though I know it happens to Nina as well, because I think it's the TV.
It did not
It's the
happen
TV.
to me.
Noah says, me when I'm dying, I assume about
Oh, that's
Chucky
what
dying.
that's when Charles reaches in his shirt and he sees the blood. He's like, "Fuck, I'm dying."
He does say that, yeah. I
He's
love
like,
the
"Oh my
way
God, I'm
I love the way
dying."
he acts throughout that scene, but that is a really goofy line, and I love it.
And then he just like shouts to Mike, and he's just like, "You hear that, you prick? You're killing me."
he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the Mike Humberting is like, that's the point.
Me when someone's trying to kill me. You dick.
That's very in character for Chucky.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say about Chucky is he is always
He's
himself.
consistent.
Chucky's a man of the people.
Noah says, I saw this one, said with such contempt, but also what a mood. I remember being a kid and being so mad at repeat episodes. Yeah. That kid is, oh my God, when he gets so
On
excited.
his birthday, no less.
On
A
his
It's his
repeat.
birthday, even.
This movie does a really good job of capturing the experience of like being like the kid and parent thing where the mom has to like work these stupid fucking hours and like have like trying to find a birthday present for him and all of that like feels very real, and it contributes to the kind of making a Goofy doll kind of actually a horror thing in such a good way, because if the family weren't so real, I don't think Chucky would be as effective.
Yeah.
I was hoping Chucky would kill her boss, honestly.
I was hoping so as well.
Man, I hated Walter.
Noah says, "Wow, I hate Walter Criswell. Man sucks
I wrote a note about hating
manager
him
I've
as
ever
well.
seen." Yeah. We really hate capitalism on this podcast, yo. I don't know if you guys noticed after Train to Busan, but we have a type of guy we like to hate here.
Yeah.
Noah says, "Oh my God, Noah." Okay, so Noah refers to Mike Humperdinck as Detective Turtleneck through this entire thing, which will be interesting later on in this exact page of notes. Noah says, "Damn, Eddie, you're living in a shithole. Honestly, why'd you stay in town, Lamau?" Valid. Noah says, "They demolished a building for this." Yes.
Yeah, they blew that house right up.
Yeah, they did.
It looks so good.
Noah says,
Stop!
"Why is Chucky stop calling the typo? Typo. Let me take a photo of how this typo looks.
Chucky.
I'm so excited.
Because
I can't believe that my notes are about to get leaked in the server.
No,
again.
not again.
No, these are just going to the host for now, but I will post them later. Oh shit, you cannot even kind of read that. Hold on. It's CHUURCKY. Turkey.
So it's not just Chucky, it's like Turkey.
I love that.
Yes. Noah says, "Why is
Just call him Chucky. God damn it. It was a typo.
Noah says, "Why is Turkey?"
I can't wait to watch Bride of Chucky.
Stop.
Noah says,
I heard
"Why is
Cult of Chucky was really good.
Noah says, "Why is?"
All right.
Chucky?
This has
Why
gone
is-
far enough. I
why
think
is-
we need to stop laughing at Noah's typo.
Noah
We're here to
says-
talk about the movie Child's Play, and we should get back to
Child's
it.
Noah says, "Why is Chucky calling Detective Turtleneck Mikey?" Noah, watch the movie and learn any names. No. So, yeah, Noah actually didn't know Mike Humperdinck's name.
I knew Mike Humperdinck's name.
But did you know Turkey's?
All right.
This is going to be your Grink. Fully, it is.
The Grink was already his
Grink.
Grink.
The Grink was my Grink.
This might be my Grink. Noah says, oh God. Noah says, "Insane work from the crew here on making a full-size people in doll suits look like a doll. There's some clean movement here." Yeah, it's really well done. Noah says, "Burnt Chucky is so fucked up. I love him." We did not talk about how fucked up Burnt Chucky
he is
looks, but he
fucked up.
looks so good.
Holy shit.
He's shockingly active after he gets burnt up.
I mean,
It's
he
really
is
fun
tall, so-
when Detective Handlebar starts slapping him on the head. It's like so funny to me. She's just like fucking like slamming the top of this burnt doll head. Like, does this look alive to
the
you?
look in the eye the whole time. It's just...
so dead-eyed. It's like so well done. I love just the design work they did. But yeah, that's all of Noah's notes.
Well, that and the
on Child's Play.
Yeah. That whole
notes.
throwing him in the fire scene. There's an awful lot in this movie that we haven't talked about because I got so distracted talking about other stuff. I love the scene where they throw him in the fire, where like he tries to stop Andy from lighting the fireplace and stuff. Once again,
aren't we gonna be friends
we're
forever?
friends to
And
the
then
end,
Andy
remember?
gets like the hilarious
This
one-liner.
is the end, pal.
I love the way that he says it. Like the kid knew exactly what to
melodramatic.
do
It's
with
so
that
kid.
line. There is not a better way that he could have said that. And then he lights him up. And last fun fact about the making of the movie.
Please.
When Brad Dourif was recording the sounds of him screaming in the fire there, apparently his daughter like walked into the room that he was recording that in and didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know she was there, so he just keeps going. And he didn't know that she was there until he heard her like crying behind him because she didn't know why he was making those awful noises. She was like 6 years old at the time.
No! Oh no, poor girl.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Apparently
so
now
funny.
she has had her own entire like career as an actress, and apparently she plays him in the show. In like every now and then they'll have like flashbacks to him in the 80s, back when he had his body, and she plays him. They just dub her with his voice.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I love that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have anything else they would like to say about Child's Play
Somebody
1988?
other than me, maybe.
I had fun.
It's a fun one.
Yeah.
I had a great time.
The good
I was
guy
pleasantly
PJ
surprised.
sneakers is a cursed concept that I am fully against.
Yeah, why would you
PJ
make
sneakers?
shoes to
What
wear
the
to bed?
fuck?
What? That's
Yeah.
Why
weird.
would you
That's
have
weird.
footsie pajamas?
That's not bedtime sneakers.
Yeah, there's something
But
about the
footsie-
rubber
they're
soles,
like-
the hard rubber
Some
soles.
footsie pajamas have like rubber soles.
I'm against that too.
Yeah, those made my feet too hot as a kid, and I felt like I was dying.
Call
Listen,
me a
in
hater.
1988, they didn't know how to live properly.
That seems
That's
like
true.
That's true. Those were the dark
Yeah.
ages.
Yeah.
The B-52s hadn't even put out.
I
Love
wasn't
Shack yet.
alive yet.
Oh shit! Was that even a time? Was there a time before Love Shack?
Every time before 1989, as a matter of fact.
That doesn't seem right.
Dang.
When you saw a faded sign on the side of the road, you didn't even know what it meant.
No, yeah.
15 miles to what? I don't know.
15 miles to the
Nothing.
what?
Tin roof? I don't know.
Anyway, I don't have anything else to say about this movie. I did have fun. Obviously, ranked pretty high on the slasher scale. Good slasher.
Nice.
This movie does, in addition to having a good kid actor, it also continues themes from the Babadook, such as kids knowing more about the world around them than adults think. Throughout
So,
this
yeah.
movie,
when-
Andy is telling the truth the whole time, and every adult around him assumes that he is lying because what he's saying doesn't make any sense. But like,
So
I feel
yeah.
like kids have this thing where like for them, all daily life is already so weird that when something especially weird happens, they kind of just don't question it, you know? But adults, when confronted with something that doesn't make sense, they have a greater tendency to like ignore it. And that's why they don't catch Chucky for so long.
So it's really interesting because we talked about this when we talked about Color Out of Space, that people were trying to assign that kind of story to the youngest kid. They were trying to, in enjoying the movie as a whole, were trying to make it something that it wasn't and trying to say that kid had that kind of storyline. He didn't. But in Babadook, in Child's Play, and in Skinamarink, I think all three do really good jobs of having the kid, basically accept the weird shit as something that they should take kind of in stride. And I was talking to, I think, my mom about this, where I was talking about growing up in the church and kind of just taking everything that they were saying at face value, because when you're a kid, you take all authority figures kind of at the same level, unless the kind of ultimate authority figure of your parent tells you not to trust them.
Right.
So, you know, your parents sent you to church, you're like, okay, so my parents have sent me there, they have signed off on this, and then whatever the church tells you is kind of face value. And it's the same thing with kind of like in Skinamarink and in Child's Play specifically, just kind of because they're just kind of in this vulnerable position already as a kid who's like, parent is doing their best in Child's Play, and kids who are straight up neglected in Skinamarink, like just kind of trying to cope and make their lives work by focusing on kind of pop culture and the stuff around them. and how that can turn into them getting taken advantage of by a new authority figure because they have this gap in their lives for someone to tell them what to do. And here comes fucking weird ass creepy entity thing to tell them that. And again, like you said, just because everything's already so fucking weird as a kid, that's such an interesting, that's how child characters in horror are interesting to me versus the child characters in like Evil Dead Rise, even the little kid character, and in Color Out of Space, where it's just like, oh my god, there's a child in danger, aren't you scared? And I'm like, not really, no. I would be more interested if you kind of toyed with how scary it is to just be a kid in the first place.
I wouldn't have even thought about bringing Skinamarink into this, actually. That's a good comparison to be pulling.
I was thinking about it a lot through this one, actually.
I don't know why I wasn't, now that it's in my head.
Child's Play 2, Skinamarinked.
Oh no, is that the one where Chucky gets Skinamarinked?
Oh, I don't want to see Chucky get Skinamarinked. I don't think
it would
that
be
would go well for
an hour and
involved.
a half of him saying, hey, why is the camera not aimed at me? What are you doing?
Hey,
what are you, some
at?
kind of moron? Don't know how to shoot a movie? I'll show you, teach you to fuck with me. And then he bites the cameraman and the movie ends.
And then he bites the cameraman and the movie ends, yeah. That's a gnarly doll bite special effect as well.
Yeah, the couple of times that we're able to actually see it before it mysteriously disappears toward the end of the movie.
Rip.
It like changes positions before that as well. There's a couple of goofs like that in the movie, but
that's so funny.
Yeah, there's like a cabinet that opens itself between shots at one point as well.
That doesn't surprise me. That feels
it's the kind of movie that
right.
should have that kind of thing, right? Like the whole feel of it is just like, some stuff's gonna get fucked up, whatever.
The important stuff, like Chucky's hairline receding, is on point.
Right, because that's the reason that you can forgive all the stuff that gets messed up, right? Is they are actually doing the cool shit.
They're putting the work in when it counts.
Final thought on the movie, and this is just another moment of me saying I would survive this movie.
Go off.
If I had been the babysitter, he would not have had to throw me out that window because I would have let him watch the news. If a kid asks you to let his doll watch the news, all you have to say is, okay, but you've got to go to bed, so go brush your teeth, and when the news is over, I'll bring him to your room. Easy. Boom. The kid's going 100%. And doing the thing that you want him to do with no argument. It's so easy to do. Come on. Maybe she did have it coming. I don't know.
Oh my god. But no, as a someone who babysat a lot, yeah, totally. That is all it takes, is to just
it seems like such an easy solution, right?
Chucky happy, Andy happy, I'm still alive because I let the doll facade keep going. Done.
Not that that's something you're always thinking when you babysit a kid, but like maybe you do.
No.
Yeah.
I do. Me personally, I live on Toy Story rules 24/7.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode of Casual Obsession, the horror movie podcast where we talk about horror movies. I'd say follow us on Twitter, but Twitter's falling apart. Maybe follow us on Tumblr, Casual Horror Pod. I'm going to try and be a little more active. I do have a backlog of posts to reblog. So, but for me personally, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Nina Wolverina. I have a book coming out August 1st. It's the second book in a trilogy, but it's also the first book in a trilogy. You can read the first two out of order. So go off, follow your heart. If this one seems more interesting to you, it's more queer and it's a lot of fun. Just, read them whatever order you want to, and then read the third one after the first two. But yeah, you can get more info about that on Twitter or Insta at Nina Wolverina. Who else?
I'm Noah. You can find me as Bubba the Bad, BUBBADABAD, on Letterboxd, Blue Ski, and Tumblr.
Are we calling it Blue Ski? Is that what we're doing?
If you make me call it Blue Sky, I will leave. That's the stupidest shit name, but Blue Ski's like Brewski, and that's funny.
Okay.
Also, they call their tweets Skeets over there.
That's bad.
That's not the official name. But yeah,
I am not getting on. I got an invite and I'm dragging my feet because I just do not like the vibes of this site.
I don't want to learn a new social media platform. I'm tired of it. I don't want to learn a new one.
I'm so sick of it.
I'm not going to lie to
Tumblr.
you. It's exhausting over there. Not on Letterboxd, though. Letterboxd is fun.
And that's why you should follow me, Jeff, on Letterboxd at The Fakest Fan or on Tumblr at What Is It You Pray For.
And I'm Emma, also known as Emma Panada. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Emma Panada. I'm also writing a TTRPG called All the Witches. You can find information about that at allthewitches_ on twitter.com. And thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate you. We hope you have a great rest of your next couple weeks. Next time, we are watching Let the Right One In to continue our Gay Wrath Month series. So
hell yeah.
Looking forward to watching that with you. And goodbye.
Goodbye. Woo.
Heidi ho.